Welcome to Paddock Pass Live, powered by Repco. We're going to wrap up all the events today from the core staff. Darwin SuperSprint, Scott McLaughlin, he was unstoppable today, wasn't he, Lownsy? He's just chalked up his 8th race win for the season. And thankfully for me, I don't have to think of another number, but it's actually the 8th race win for him up here in Darwin as well. He was pretty dominant when you think about the pole positions that he's taken as well over the last 2 weekends.
Well, not only the last 2 weekends, last 2 years. From last year to this year, I think he just loves this place and the car suits him. Obviously the way that they're setting the car up. And of course, you've got to also remember that last weekend was the dual compound tyre. They still able to get race victories and pole positions. Then this weekend just being a full soft weekend. A little bit easier for engineers to be able to strategise the cars. But anyway, it's definitely a place for I think we'll just rename it Scotty McLaughlin Straight.
Well, we'll let you fill that in on the suggestions box on the way out of the circuit. Look, he has been incredibly dominant here, but if you look at the rest of the podiums over the other 3 races this weekend, it's been a fair bit of a mix. And if we take out even the podium people and look down through the top 10, there's a lot of chat about hard tyres, soft tyres, do we run mixed rounds? For me, the ultimate is actually what we had over the last 2 weekends, where we have one of one and then one of something very different. And the racing, to be honest, has been brilliant.
It has been brilliant. I think that we saw even today, the second race, in the mid-pack, there was some unbelievable battles going on. And, I think Team 18 was probably the standout for me this weekend. Both Scotty Pye and Mark Winterbottom definitely stepping up. Qualifying, they've stepped up. They beat the, they keep saying this, they keep beating the mothership. And these guys share data with Team 18. And of course, at the end of the day, everyone up and down pit lane got a little bit of battle scars. I know the back of Shane's car has got a few battle scars, but these guys got to turn these cars around now and get them quickly across to Townsville.
And that note that you made on these cars sharing data, so 888 Red Bull Racing do share data with Team 18, but there has been some changes since we've resumed racing under these COVID restrictions, and all the teams are allowed to download throughout the weekend, but they don't get an encryption code key until tomorrow. So there isn't actually any data over the live race weekend going from these guys down to Team 18. Do you think there's a little bit of something in that?
Well, you said this morning, I think that at the end of the day, with all these limited changes and restrictions that all teams have got to abide by, that the other end of pit lane has now actually closed the gap to this end of pit lane, except for Scotty McLaughlin. He seems to be the class act at the moment, which is great for him and obviously for Shell. But these guys right here, you saw how close qualifying was. It's really intense. You've got to get every millimetre of this track right. It'll be no different when we move to Townsville. It really is something that's putting a lot of pressure on all these guys. We heard that Davey Reynolds and Anton just didn't quite have the weekend they had last weekend. So it's been a mixed weekend. Both weekends have been mixed, but you're right. It's great to see Scotty Pye up there on the podium. So there's a lot of changes in the guard. I think it's great to see.
It certainly is. Let's go for a bit of a wander, mate. We heard from Dave Reynolds before. He sounded really quite dejected, didn't he, Cam Waters? We asked him to chat with us and he said no. So he's blazing out of here. But before he said no, I did see him go in next door and apologise to Jamie Whincup and just say, hey, mate, I was going for the traditional over and under. I assume it went along the lines of something like, I messed up. Anyway, pluck the steering arm out of the upright and here I am.
Yeah, it's interesting though, when you say that, like Jack LeBrock had the same thing, yesterday. So it's sort of one of those things that maybe it's a weakness of their car, because it's something that both cars have suffered the same situation with very similar contact on that same angle. So look, anyway, these guys probably got more things to do, instead of listening to me, but it is something that maybe it's a part of the car that is a bit fragile.
I thought exactly the same thing, mate. Running up and down the pit lane with you this weekend, as soon as I saw the Cam Waters one, I went in there. It was identical to the Jack LeBrock one. So the hard part is that the teams are all moving around and travelling at the minute, that they don't have all the normal resources available to them to update uprights and alike from within their home bases. So the unfortunate bit is I think what they've got now is what they're taking to Townsville. Yes. Let's have a look at this. Let's go through these cars, right? So massive amount of contact here to the back of Jack LeBrock's car. I can whack it like that because I'm not going to do any more damage than there currently is in the back. So let's walk back down this way and we'll do a quick little look, Lownsy, because there's plenty of battle scars here. The rear of Jamie Whincup's car doesn't look too bad. Even the doors aren't too bad. A couple of little marks on the front bumper bar here of the 88. A couple of tyre rubs around the side. Another big hit here into the back of Shane Van Gisbergen's car. I think, was it Mark Winterbottom said that this car here was about as wide as a B double at some point out there. And, you know, off the back of that comes a couple of little hits from those trying to get round you.
But also people at home, like there's a couple of fastening bolts here. This is all carbon fibre. That'll pluck off. The new one will go on. It'll look brand new. Jamie's one, a couple of little war paint there. That'll buff out.
Exactly, and in case anybody was questioning what he just said, he said pluck with a P, so that will pluck off. If we come to Fabian Coulthard's car, a little bit of damage on the front bumper bar again here of this car. This looks near on identical to the rub that he had with Jamie last weekend on that contentious pit lane release, but that's all been cleared up. Front bumper bar's been dislodged. Now if we come around to this car here, it looks like it's just rolled out of the truck. Is there any marks on the back of it? It's not too bad. There's no battle wounds, there's no battle scars on it. We are seeing a little bit of a byproduct of teams having to reuse some panels, but the short of all of this, he was out in front for most of the day and nobody could get near him.
Well, that's the thing is basically when you get out in clean air, you keep your engines cool because it's been so extremely hot this weekend. We are about 8 weeks beyond what we would normally be up here, so it is a bit more humid. Today was the hottest of both weekends, so yeah, temperatures in the engines, they're the things that all teams up and down pit lane have got to make sure that they monitor. We know that Shane Van Gisbergen, we know Todd Hazelwood changed engines over the course of the weekend. They'll be fresh and ready to go for Townsville, but whether some of these other guys have to do that going into Townsville, who knows?
And you mentioned Townsville. We'll be fresh and ready to get into Townsville as well. That is the Hidden Valley Darwin events for 2020 done so far this year. Racing was brilliant. We go over to the East Coast and we'll head to Townsville. We'll see you next weekend.